Here are 5 common mistakes that I see within trail runners and hikers. Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm the personal trainer and running coach at Kathletics. Here at Kathletics, we're all about meeting you where you are in your fitness so you can approach hybrid training in a sustainable way. First things first, a personal trainer has to do what a personal trainer does and say that, number one, we're not strength training enough. As a personal trainer, you know that I'm going to encourage strength training. So this is something that I see within hikers and trail runners, that maybe we're just focused on the cardio piece, but we lack in the strength training area. Now, strength training, there's a ton of benefits to that. I can link another video where I go over those benefits, but strength training specifically for trail runners and hikers is super important, especially for having power, for when you are dealing with different types of terrain, steep terrain, rocky terrain, things that can make your ankles do all sorts of funky things on the trail. We want to make sure that we're encouraging strength training at least 1 time per week. I generally would recommend 1 to 3 times per week, depending on what your goals are and your current frequency within cardio. But making sure that we're getting some sort of strength training in so we can address both the leg muscles, upper body. Yes, you use your upper body when it comes to hiking and trail running. Want to make sure we're getting into core, all types of core, getting into ankle stability, overall stability, balance, things like that to improve your experience on the trails. So this is something that can easily be added in. If you check out my Kathletics Trail or Sustainably Fit programs, I'll have them linked down in the description below. Both of these programs can be really helpful depending on your level of experience in strength training. Number 2, not fueling enough. And this is not only for outside of the trail, so like breakfast, lunch, dinner, like your normal day-to-day eating, but also your time on the trail. We want to make sure that we are fueling regularly. I generally recommend getting something in your system every like 40 to 45 minutes, because this is going to encourage you to have energy readily available. I generally recommend having easy digestible carbs so you can have a better time on the trail. You can feel better, you can have better performance, and have better recovery. If eating during your time on the trail is new to you, I would ease into it, just because it can be a lot to go from not eating to suddenly now we're consuming 60 grams of carbs per hour. So I would ease into it and then add in as it gets a little bit easier and as you find foods that sit well with your stomach. But staying fueled, staying hydrated on the trail, and then of course eating enough while you're not on the trail is also important for recovery. I want to add a little disclaimer here that I understand that some people are using these forms of exercise as a way to lose weight, but I do want to focus on the performance side of things, so we're not going to be talking about weight loss in that sense today. Number 3, since we kind of talked about strength training as well as fueling, we also want to make sure that we are recovering enough. And both of those involve your recovery. We want to make sure we're fueling enough. We want to make sure that we're sleeping enough. So getting 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep, making sure that you're managing your stress. All of these things play into your overall recovery. So it's really important that you dial that in and focus on that, especially in those high training volume times. Number 4 is going to come down to clothing. So making sure that you have the proper layers that you need in order to be on the trail. If you live in a place like Colorado, like I do, the weather can change in an instance. There's been several times when I've been on the trail where it seems like I have 4 seasons all in the span of an hour. So it's not uncommon to experience that, and you want to be prepared. Now, does that mean if you're going out to a local trail and you're planning on doing a 3-mile hike, do you need to have a winter coat and also a tank top? Not necessarily, but maybe. But in this instance, I wouldn't necessarily say that. But if you are going into higher altitudes, it is important to make sure that you're looking at the weather ahead of time. You're packing for the proper layers, where you have your base layer, your mid layer, maybe an outer layer as well, and having that knowledge and access to know when we need to switch out layers to protect yourself. Number 5, when you're on the trail, it can be really exciting to just be like, all right, I'm going to do this today, especially if it's a high altitude hike that you've been planning or looking forward to. Specifically, I'm thinking like 13ers, 14ers, those types of hikes, or if you're into trail running and into that higher altitude, you can be really excited and feel like you got to do it today. Today's perfect weather. I'm going to do it. Well, we also need to be able to know our limits and know when we're like, actually, this isn't the day, and not to be afraid of turning around. Because guess what? That mountain's not going anywhere. So you can always go back to it. Yes, is it a bummer that you had trained for this and you are super stoked? Absolutely. But we need to keep ourselves in check, Make sure that we know when to turn around so you can stay safe and be able to come back to it later in a better state of mind or a better physical state. These 5 common mistakes are all avoidable, especially if you are following a training program that is specific to you and specific to your training goals. I know that I have personally experienced most of these common mistakes myself, and sometimes it does take learning the hard way to figure it out. But if we can avoid these and know how to mitigate that, I think it's really valuable. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, be sure to like, subscribe, and then we'll see you in the next one.